SpunOut.ie ventured to Brussels and Strasbourg to find out more about the European Parliament, what it does and how it works. We talked to MEPs, NGOs and European Parliament staff about their thoughts and views on a range of different topics. In this video, we asked them about the ongoing trade negotiations between the EU and the US, also known as TTIP.
TTIP is the Transatlantic Trade Partnership, so it's a trade agreement that's been negotiated between America and the European Union. And if completed, it'll account for 45% of global GDP, so it makes it the largest trading bloc on the planet.
TTIP is a trade agreement. The Parliament have a veto on trade agreements. If we say no, it can't go ahead. We did that with the ACTA agreement a few years ago. And there are aspects of it that are very secret. We still don't know what's in TTIP because they say it's commercially sensitive. But, you know, if you're going to have something that's going to actually interfere with people's lives, and the trade union, SIP2 and other trade unions are very worried about it here, as are, for instance, the Irish Cancer Society, because of services. It will have to, for me to vote for TTIP, can't see myself doing it.
We're very interested in the impact that it could possibly have when it comes to harmonisation of regulations, harmonisation of the rules for, let's say, vehicle standards in the US and here, and the standards are quite different. And what we would be afraid of is that what the agreement would be was the US and the EU would go for the lowest common denominator, the lowest standards possible. And that's something we really don't want to see. So we're on the European Commission's advisory group to advise them about TTIP from an environmental perspective. And this is something that we would be raising a lot with them. We're not against TTIP in principle, but we don't want something which is going to lower the environmental standards that European citizens currently enjoy.
One example is just in terms of the chemicals and how they're managed compared to the EU. In cosmetics in the European Union, there's over 1,200 chemicals are banned from use in cosmetics, and in America that's 12.
Another massive one is TTIP, and that comes through all committees. It's come through the Agriculture Committee, it's come through the Environment Committee, and let's say on the Agriculture Committee there was one thing expressed, and no one seemed to disagree with it, that if TTIP went through, it would affect the whole suckler farming area. In fact, they suggested it would destroy it. So the fact that I'm on the Agriculture Committee means I represent an area like Roscommon that is very dependent on that and areas around it. It means that I can put my tuppence worth in and I can highlight the deficiencies in this ongoing trade deal that they're discussing.
In reality, it'll touch every aspect of your life. So things that are up for negotiation in terms of public services, what public services will be opened up to the market. And that, you know, could include education, it could include healthcare, around regulations on food and chemicals and safety standards. They're all up for negotiation. One of the most controversial part of the agreement that's been negotiated is the inclusion of what they call an ISDS, which is an investor state dispute settlement process. And that is, to put it in simple terms, where a multinational corporation can take a sovereign state such as Ireland, the Irish government, to court if they feel that the policy that that government is implementing interferes with their profit or their future profit. To give examples of that, in Egypt, the government tried to increase the minimum wage, and Veolia, who we're all familiar with in Ireland, who operate the Lewis system, they took them to court to say that increasing the minimum wage would interfere with their profits, and the Egyptian government had to do a U-turn on that. Another example is the plain packaged tobacco. For example, in New Zealand, they've introduced plain packaged tobacco, and Philip Morris is now suing the government for introducing plain packaged tobacco. And the worst part is that they didn't have, so it's a Canadian company, they didn't have a trade, an ISDS deal with New Zealand, but what they did was they moved their headquarters to a country that did have a trade agreement. So it's called treaty shopping, and multinational corporations are very good at this, so they know. So basically any company then could just set up a head office in America and then sue a European member state if they felt that the policy interferes. So that's, I think most people in Ireland would be very worried about that aspect of it. It ties the hands of any government in the future. You know, it doesn't matter how progressive you want to be, if you can be sued for doing that, that's very worrying in terms of, you know, democracy and electing governments to govern your country.